Good evening, everybody. My name is Maine Castillo. I'm Town Hall's program manager. On behalf of the staff at Town Hall Seattle and our friends at Third Place Books, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our presentation with Lane Moore, Angela Garbes, and Lindy West. Woo! Moore's new book, You Will Find Your People, is the subject of tonight's talk. As we get underway, I would like to acknowledge our institution stands on the unceded traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, particularly the Duwamish. We thank them for continuing use of the natural resources of their ancestral homeland. Tonight's event is part of Town Hall's annual Gala, and we are so glad that you've joined us. Your ticket purchase allows Town Hall to remain accessible for our patrons and our rental partners. It's the first time that we've celebrated in person in 3 years. And it's so nice to have you all in the room for this topic, finding your people. Thank you to each and every one of you, our people, for being here and taking time to ask questions and feed your curiosity. The presentation will run about 60 minutes, including Q&A. When we get to the Q&A portion of the event, you may ask your question through the mic over there, or you can scan the QR code on the screen and submit your question digitally. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible, and you can help us by keeping your own question concise and in the form of a question. Town Hall's work is made possible through your support and the support of our sponsors. As a part of our Arts and Culture series, this event is supported by For Culture, Arts Fund, City of Seattle Arts and Culture, and Washington State Arts Commission. Town Hall is also a member-supported organization, so I'd like to thank all of our members who are joining us. If you share Town Hall's vision of a community strengthened by discussions about civics, science, and arts and culture, where everyone has a voice, please consider supporting us by donating or becoming a member. Lastly, you'll absolutely want to dig into tonight's topic further by exploring Lane, Lindy, and Angela's work. Third Place Books is set up in the lobby with books from all three of the excellent authors you'll see tonight. Lane Moore is an award-winning stand-up comedian, actor, author, and musician. Moore is the creator of the hit comedy show Tinder Live and the best-selling author of How to Be Alone and the forthcoming You Will Find Your People. Moore's writing has appeared everywhere, from The New Yorker to The Onion, and she is the former sex and relationship editor at Cosmopolitan, where she received a GLAAD award for her groundbreaking work expanding the magazine's queer coverage. Angela Garbes is the author of Essential Labor, Mothering as Social Change, called a landmark and a lightning storm by The New Yorker. Essential Labor was named a Best Book of 2022 by both The New Yorker and NPR. Her first book, Like a Mother, was also an NPR Best Book of the Year, as well as a finalist for the Washington State Book Award in nonfiction. Her writing has appeared in The Atlantic, The New York Times, New Yorker Magazine, and featured on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah and Fresh Air with Terry Gross. A first-generation Filipina-American, Garbes lives with her family on Beacon Hill. Lindy West is a former contributing opinion writer for The New York Times and the author of Shit, Actually, the New York Times best-selling memoir, Shrill, and the essay collection, The Witches Are Coming. Her work has also appeared in This American Life, The Guardian, Cosmopolitan, GQ, Vulture, Jezebel, and others. She is the co-founder of the reproductive rights destigmatization campaign, #ShoutYourAbortion. Lindy is a writer and executive producer on Shrill, the Hulu comedy adaptation from her memoir. She co-wrote and produced the independent feature film, Thin Skin. Please join me in welcoming Lane, Angela, and Lindy.
Hello, good evening. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, hi.
Yes. I too thank you. So it's interesting that we're here to talk about friendship. Now, I think a lot of friendship, I have no basis, the literature, the data is not with me, but I think a lot of the basis of friendship is time spent together. And I met Lane for the first time this evening, but we were downstairs during the Town Hall Gala, which was a lovely event. But it was, we were not there. We were not like the target audience, I think, for the gala. And I feel like we spent quality time feeling very confused about what was going on. And it bonded us. So
I think that's one of the best things when you realize those moments when you're like, oh, I've known this person 5 minutes, and yet like I know all I need to know about them is like gold. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah.
Does anyone want to acknowledge that we have a fourth panelist?
Oh, yes. Very special. Fourth panelist, a little overwhelmed. This is my dog Lights, who the book is dedicated to, and also I took a photo with me and her as my author photo, so obviously she's fairly important. But yeah, she travels with me, and she's a little bit like, what? But she would much rather be here than in the audience being like, why is mom up there? So yeah.
We'll be, more will be revealed about Lights and their Lane and Lights
More
relationship.
will be revealed, as though she has a really dark past. You'll hear more. It's crazy.
So
Yes.
I have a question to start us off, if you're okay with that. So, Lane, this is your second book, and your first book was called How to Be Alone, and the second book is called You Will Find Your People, which is an interesting turn if you had just figured out how to be alone.
Yes, exact, right? Yeah. Which is
So-
very funny because when I thought of the title for the second book, I really didn't know they would be such bookends, really, on a shelf. So How to Be Alone, the first book was really a book about, I come from I had a really challenging childhood. I had to raise myself, and it was very, very hard. So I had been alone from a very, very young age, and it really impacted my ability to connect with other people. And so the first book was really very much about I had no choice but to be on my own. And if you have no choice but to be on your own, or if you find yourself needing to be alone, as every single human being will, particularly the last couple of years, sometimes you just have no choice. Having to learn how to become your own best friend, how to learn how to become somebody who can be there for you when maybe other people cannot, was something that I had to learn in such an extreme way that I had so much to say about it. But then once you do all that work on yourself, all that like sticky work with your childhood and like what makes you who you are, and you're able to find that kind of strength and solace within yourself, naturally you're going to want to branch out and find more community, better friends, find your place in the world, and have a little bit more self-esteem and realizing your own worth, because now you've learned to see yourself as a friend. And so you want to expand on that. And so, but then you're like, how the hell do I do that? How the hell do I find friends as an adult and choose better people when people I've chosen haven't really been good? And for so long, I was just choosing very much the wrong people and attracting very much, the wrong people. And so there was a lot I had to heal within myself. And so I really wanted to write a book for anybody who's struggled with it, because it feels taboo to say you've had any kind of struggle with it, when I think every single person has had some struggle with it. I think it's very universal. And I think in both of these books, I wanted to just eliminate so much of the shame of loneliness, of trying to find connection, because I think it's deeply human and deeply relatable, and I think it's good to talk about it.
I'm sorry, I was just on an emotional journey while you were talking about But I was like, yes, self-worth, yes, all of that. No, when you get to that place, the thing that's amazing though too is that I feel like I've done all of this work to get to this place in my life where I'm like 45 now, I accept myself, but I'm also like, I got to that point and I was like, oh, I have to do this like every day.
There's still more, yes! I was in Goodwill today reparenting myself. What a nightmare. Like, I just want to try on jeans, and I'm like, hey, inner child, let's have a chat. And I'm like, ugh, this is hell. I don't want to do this. I wanted slacks, but oh well, what are you going to do?
Was this the Goodwill on Dearborn? The big one?
Which one was it? I don't remember where.
I'm guessing it was.
You know which one I went to? The
Yeah.
funniest thing, and this is somewhat crass, and this seems like a holy place, but I think you'll appreciate it. When I went to the Goodwill today, went on Google Maps, the first review that comes up is like one review. I love when people review Goodwills. And the woman said, I went in to buy a pair of shoes and I turned them over and it was covered in excrement. And I was like, I'm going. So it's whichever location that is. Yeah, so when I was reparenting myself. It's very, very real.
Do you want to read a little bit from the new book?
I would love to, yes. So what I wanted to read from was there is an entire chapter on friendship breakups, how to know when to leave, how to do it, and how to cope with the grief, because we don't really talk about this as often as we should, because it really just feels, to borrow a term from Law & Order SVU, especially heinous, but it really does. So I'll read a little bit from that. As much as it can be heartbreaking if someone turns out to be not what they seemed, or for your friendship to not be the forever friendship you hoped it would be, the upside is that this can bring you to the realization that you can trust yourself. Your suspicions that these are not the right friends for you anymore and that there is nothing you can or should do to fix it are warranted. I had found myself in this exact position so many times, but it shifted in a larger way only in the last few years. It is so beyond frustrating to realize that I finally have friends, yes, I did it, was a bit of a false positive, and actually some of these friends are still kind of bad, and you just want to shout, again? Seriously? And when it happened this time, I realized a lot of my friendships were still being chosen from the places where I was not yet healed, and therefore my friendships were still not working, even if progress had been made. Realizing that this is what was happening freed me to take a step back and reevaluate what I was tolerating and what wasn't mine to fix. I was, for the first time ever, allowing myself to say, I tried my best in this friendship. Let it go and focus on people who did love me and did care. Was it easy? Oh, goodness, no, it was not. For most of my life, I thought that friends were whoever chose you, whoever applied for the job. But now I realize that you deserve to choose who you let into your life. You get to choose who has access to you. And as hard as it can be, sometimes you can only meet the right people once you release the wrong ones who aren't making you happy and change the rules for who gets to access to you. This can be so hard to do, though, especially because when you love someone, you're invested, and you've put in the time to find a way to fit together. But everyone is a puzzle piece, and you can't always see why the edges don't quite line up when you're together, but you know it when they don't. You feel it. You want to grow, you want to be better, but what if as you do, you realize there are people who don't fit into your life anymore? Sometimes the people you bonded with in the past fit you well at that time because you were wounded in the same way. But the more you work on yourself, the more you heal, the more you grow, and they don't fit anymore, you will wonder what warped them. Was it the weather? Did someone get this puzzle wet? But the truth is, you have changed shape. Your edges have softened. You have expanded. Maybe they stayed the same. Maybe they contracted or expanded in a different way. But you don't fit anymore. On the surface, this is growth. This is the goal. But no one really tells you what growth can cost you. You want the people who came with you to follow you to this new place, to grow as you grow alongside you. We believe that partners come and go, yes, but friends and family are forever. They are our constants. And I want my constants like they are free breadsticks at an Olive Garden. You told me I get them. I know other people got them. I saw them on TV, and I swear to God, if you don't bring them out for me soon, I will smash every window in this Cincinnati mall location. I'll stop there.
It really is so hard. I was thinking while you were reading that, because I feel like romantic breakups, there's a million things that kind of distance you from, that you can use to distance yourself from saying, like, I just don't like you. Like, about what is a friend breakup besides, unless they've done, like, because sometimes you just don't want to be around a person anymore.
Yep.
And I have never successfully in my life said, I don't want to be your friend anymore. I don't know how to, I couldn't possibly. I will ghost a person.
No, we were talking about this, and I'm really glad that you read this because it helped me sort of reframe it and thinking about, right, like we're all meant to grow and change. And that's hard. And exactly it. We don't talk about it. Like I have also never successfully broken up with a friend. As a Virgo, it's not the best thing, but I have very successfully just completely cut people out of my life as though they were dead to me. Like I know how to do that. But I don't know how to gracefully handle that very human thing, which I think is a thing that's present in all of our works. Like I was thinking about this, it's like what you're talking about is like the really messy, complicated, beautiful, inefficient, hard, constant thing of being a human being. Yeah. I guess I'm wondering, do you have tips for how to gracefully exit a friendship?
Yeah. So,
asking for a friend.
No, absolutely. Yes. Who I want to break up with. Yeah. So I do talk about in the book like various ways that you can do it, and I think one of the things that I really wanted to highlight when I was writing about this is, I really am a believer that you should communicate as much as you possibly can to the other person, because I talk about how painful it can be when a close friend leaves without warning or reason. It is so brutal. And some people, look, there's two sides to this, because most of the people who have done this to me, like, I don't want to sound this sure about it, but I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I know I didn't. Like, you know what? Like, because sometimes there's not, like, and I even, like, asked them. Like, I was just like, was there something that happened? Like, I genuinely want to know. If there's something I can repair, even if you don't want to be friends anymore, I still want to know and, like, hold space for it. And, like, I tend to be somebody who is overly communicative and overly aware. But sometimes people do just leave without that because they don't have the energy to talk, or they don't have the, I won't even say energy, the vocabulary to talk about it, or they don't value you enough to talk about it, which sucks, just period, it sucks, I hate it. But at the same time, I also want to say, because, often people are like, you got to tell somebody, you have to have this conversation. But for me, somebody who has always struggled with people pleasing and giving way too many chances, for those people, I really encourage them to, if you feel like you have communicated this enough, you can ghost. Because it's not really ghosting. Like, to me, so many of the friends that I've had to break up with, it has been a sudden drift, but not because I ever wanted it to be. It was because I was like, I can't continue to go back to you asking for water to be in this well. It has never been in the well when I have checked, and you will never refill it. And so I'm sure there are friends who are like, yeah, she left without warning. And I'm like, oh, I have receipts. I have, like, so many times I asked for this very simple thing and you refused and still wanted me to maintain a friendship with you despite none of my needs being met. Like, it's wild that happens. And, so I think taking stock of that, I think, is really important. Like, because I always hate when people give that sort of pat advice of like, talk to them about it. I'm like, listen, Samantha, I talked to them about it. Not everybody needs to talk to them about it. Actually, sometimes you need to go, I've talked about it a lot. I've forgiven a lot. Yeah. And just move on for your own peace.
I mean, there is a part of that is really like the generous way of seeing that, I think, which is, and I'm not just saying this to make any of us feel better, but it's generous to be like, no, I see you for who you are, and I accept that. And this is not the sort of friendship where we're going to put in the work to, like, fix you. Like, this is, you're not capable of giving me what I need, and I'm not capable of being what you need.
No, and I'm glad that you said that, because it was so important to me to talk about it in a way that wasn't a, like, they're trash, you leave them, girl. I hate that type of writing. I hate it so much. I don't agree with that. I think that being able to leave these friendships, I really encourage people to try to look at it as something that sets you both free to find something else. Because sometimes I know I've gotten caught in a dynamic where, like, the other person feels like they can never give me what I want, and I feel like I'm never getting what I want. Like, that feels horrible. So it's just like setting you free to be like, I know you can never fully give me what I want. You feel like you're always disappointing me. I always feel disappointed by you. With as much love as you can muster, depending on the situation, to be able to be like, go find somebody else. It's okay, If you can. It's not always easy, but yeah.
There's something in Seattle that you've probably not heard of, but it's relevant to your work, which is called the Seattle Freeze. That is controversial. I'm not sure how much I believe in it, but supposedly people...
All right. Not real.
It is controversial.
It's
Even in this
controversial.
room,
Very
it's
controversial.
divided.
So like I was always in the not real camp as a local. I'm from here. However, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, I do that. So the idea is that people from Seattle are cold. When you, it is difficult to make, especially difficult to make friends here. That people,
Okay.
People are not.
I would say, like anecdotally, to me, the Seattle Freeze is like, it's like this level of small talk where people are always like, hey, hi. And you'll be like, oh, hey, what's up? How you doing? And they're like, fine. and it's kind
That's
of
like my hell.
we can do this very cursory level of small talk. And I'm not saying that this is specifically the Seattle Freeze. This is like people with poor communication skills and relating, right? But it's very like, I'm outwardly friendly, but I can't, connect. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay, so sorry. I just wanted to kind of to further round out our understanding.
We've devolved into chaos. But so the other component that people always say is that people in Seattle will say like, oh yeah, totally, let's get coffee sometime. And then they will never text you. So I'm like, of course I do that because I'm a coward and I don't, what am I supposed to say? Like a nice person that is an acquaintance is like, let's get coffee. And I'm like, I absolutely don't have time for you. I can't have a new friend. I am so tired. I have children. I don't know. And then, so of course I'm going to be like, yeah, totally. And then of course I'm not going to text you. So then I'm like, oh, is it real? And then some people think it's only transplants that do it. I don't know. I don't know the answer. But I guess my question is it so bad to like just be friendly and spare a person's feelings that you don't want to get embroiled in a deep friendship with? Why am I obligated to become embroiled in a deep friendship with every person that talks to me on the street? I'm shy. I'm a shy girl. A lot of people don't know that. And it's true. And I don't like it. And
I think it might be because you shouted it. I'm a shy girl.
into
Could
a
be it. I
microphone.
don't know. That's
Yeah.
just a part.
But I
that's just a
am.
guess.
But I am. And also,
No, I get it.
Also, the other thing I was going to say about the Seattle Freeze was I lost it. Okay, but anyway, it's that like when you're in New York, just random people on the street will be like, "Good morning" or whatever. Not in that accent, but people will like make eye contact
We'll
with
suddenly
you.
start talking to you like a chimney sweep. It's so annoying.
People will like make eye contact with you and like say hello, and people in Seattle don't do that. Everyone's just like.
To be honest with you, I
Afraid,
kind of
afraid.
respect that. I don't want to talk to every fucking. I just don't have the energy. And also, there's even more pressure on women to do that. And there's and it's the one. I will say one downside of having a dog, where it's like men who are really creepy will be like, "Nice dog you got there. Is that the real killer?" And you're like, I would sooner die than have whatever conversation is about to unfold. But you feel like you have to be like, yeah. Don't kill me. Yeah.
It's actually feminist to pretend like you're gonna have coffee with someone and then never text them.
No, it is. It's reclaiming my time.
Reclaiming my time.
Yes.
But I think that this is really interesting. I want to kind of like dig in a little more into this because like one of the things that you talk about in the book is like why is it like so hard to make friends as adults, right? And I think part of it is like we're all busy. And the last thing, it's really hard to make space for new people in your life. That's just true. I mean, I have 2 children under the age of 8 and under, and it's like, I mean, you know where to find me at 7:30 every night, right? Like never anywhere else except for tonight. But so there's that feeling of like we're all supposed to be working, and then we're all supposed to be like, exercising or keeping ourselves fit, and then we're all supposed to be having excellent leisure time. Like, there's just so much stuff to be
Skincare
doing.
routine, like just all of the
It feels
different-
like
I don't
another
know.
thing, and I think that's because there's this pressure, this idea of like, we're supposed to have these really deep, meaningful friendships, right? And friendships do take time to cultivate. But kind of pivoting off of this, I want to make a case where I felt this way a lot in the pandemic, and I would love to hear if other people feel this way. Like, I missed my casual friends. And like, I don't mean that as in like, I love like my small talky friends, like people who would see at dance class and we'd be like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, genuinely happy to see you, don't really know a whole lot about you. And we're not gonna go there, right? Like, we're here to do this sort of shared activity. Or like, yeah, like, I mean, in the pandemic, I also missed like accidentally physically running into people and smelling them, like things like that. But I think like that when all of that was taken away, like, there's something to be said for like very low pressure casual relationships, and those seem to be very legitimate friendships that we don't give enough weight to. Like, I know we're all supposed to have like BFFs who are like soulmates or whatever, but I love a casual friend, you know? Like,
Well, that's I love that you brought that up, because that is a big part of this book, which is learning to see community everywhere, not just putting this value on like, I talk to this person every single, like, I talk a lot about pop culture in this book, and I talk a lot about how all the TV shows that show like the 5 friends who see each other every single day, I don't have that kind of time, I don't have that kind of energy. Where's the shared Google Calendar? Who's managing it? I'm exhausted. Like, how are you all, like Sex and the City, you were all at the same hot restaurant before the invention of a Google Calendar, and you all knew where was that phone call that was like, do you want to meet there? Well, I can't because I have this. That they never showed it. It was just like they were always there every day at like noon. Everyone's work schedule lined up. Anyway, I hate it. But I grew up thinking that's what I'd have. I'd have these like 5 best friends, you know, or you have like a living single or a Golden Girl situation where you all live together, the dream, right? But like, that doesn't happen, and that's just not. I think that so many of those shows were like this wish fulfillment. It had to have been, because I don't know who had those, but in these moments of like feeling somewhat disappointed with my friendships because they weren't that, I was like, okay, well, how can I pivot and realize that like I have some friends who I've known for like 15, 20 years, but it doesn't feel like they counted because they've ebbed and flowed from my life, because like they've had their own mental health issues or physical health issues, or, you know, we couldn't talk for a couple years or whatever it was, and feeling like that didn't count. But also like, these are some people that like years can pass in between when we've talked, and then when we pick it up, I'm like, oh, like you're home in some way, but still feeling like it didn't count because I needed to have the people who were there with me every Friday night. And I think that so many of our schedules don't allow for that, and not everybody lives in the same city. And also wanting to validate, I have a lot of long distance friends. I think that's great. I think it's, you know, in moments where I will actually, this is a perfect time to talk about this and give her a shout out. But part of the reason that the event tonight came together was my friend Nicole, who I met on an airplane, and I wrote about in the book about how it was just this like chance encounter that we were getting off an airplane at the same time, ended up bonding and spending like her whole trip in New York City together, and we've been friends for I think like 10 years now, and but like she and I don't talk all the time, but every time we reconnect, and when I came to Seattle and we were just like, you know, sitting at a diner across from each other being like, I really love you. Like, it didn't matter that we hadn't seen each other in like 2 years. Who cares? Like, a bond is a bond, whether it doesn't matter. And I think there's something so beautiful about that. And yeah, it would be great if like I was in the room for the birth of her son and like but like that just doesn't always happen. It doesn't, I don't think it needs to look one way, I think is very important.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that we talk about, where it's always like, what if we just let go of this idea of what we think it's supposed to be, and just let it be what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can all thank Nicole here for this entire event because when I was on,
you're right there. I couldn't find your face.
I do love this. Like, let's talk about this. We were talking about this downtown. Downtown.
We talked about it
downstairs
downtown
at the Gala. Like this is like a community that we have here, and it's really lovely. It's not lost on us that you're here spending a Saturday night like to hear us talk. That's very cool. But yeah, the whole event came together because I was on book tour last year and did an event in DC at a wonderful Filipino restaurant with my friend who was the owner, and Nicole was there, and we met. And well, also because if you're Filipino, I basically think you're a family member. And she told me she was moving back to Seattle, and I said, well, just get in touch with me when you come. And so we did, and then she said, hey, my friend Lane has this book coming out. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then I reached out to my friend of 17 plus years, Lindy West, and was like, maybe we could all do an event together.
It's pretty, like, I think stuff like that is incredible. And all of, I mean, I think that's something I'm realizing too, is like, if finding community has been hard for you, like, I know I had so much pain around feeling like I had this identity as somebody who like didn't have their people or like really struggled to have that like, but I've really started to, because I think sometimes when you go through traumatic things or hard things, you like do make it your identity because you're like, this is what makes me special. This is actually like, this is who I am. I'm the like cool loner who has no one at all, which was never what I wanted to be. But you're like, yeah, I don't need anybody. And then you're secretly like, I do. But I've started to, it's been such a big thing. And I talk about this a lot in the book as well, which is that like, grief of your old self who was like, that maybe this just won't come together for me. But like moments like this where, you know, I was able to be like, oh my gosh, like this person like really loves me and cares about me. And like these like wonderful writers are like coming and they're really beautiful. And like, just having those moments that are like very strange and very at odds with like that core belief of like, maybe that's something I don't get. Maybe that's something I don't deserve. And then you have these, if you're lucky and you can focus on it, to have these other people come into your life and like, they're really supportive and kind. And it doesn't have to be that like, I talk to these people every single day for the rest of my life. But like, it doesn't matter. Just really focusing on those moments of community and trying to like, reframe what you think your life is and what your community is and being able to be like, no, like this is community. This is like something I don't think I thought I would ever have as a kid. Like these moments matter, you know? I think it is.
Also, the more community you build, the less you have to do uncomfortable friend breakups.
Yeah.
Because everybody's just spread around more, and you got to have a couple annoying people in the village to talk shit about with the people that you like better. And that's really appealing to me. To get to be a bitch behind people's backs and also never have to have a direct, honest conversation with anyone. That's healthy, right?
Do you, when you're being a bitch to people, do you, what a great opening sentence to get to say on a stage. When you're being a bitch to people, and I'm genuinely asking, do you ever feel like they can hear you somehow?
Oh, I have a notorious, problem where when I'm shit talking, it's like, it's a preoccupation that borders on like a mental illness, where I am so paranoid that I've accidentally called them that I check my phone. I mean, any people here who know me, like I just, you'll see me do it. Like we're really getting into it and it's so fun. And then I'm like I will think that like, well, probably when I just set it down, just then it like auto call, like.
Yes, no, that's literally what I mean. I'm just like, surely I texted them. Somehow they have tapped my phone at this exact moment. Absolutely. Because they knew I was about to it feels so awful. And then I will check my made calls just in case I didn't somehow, even if I'm not touching my phone, I'm like, it auto-called them. Somehow I installed Siri.
And then I put
it's
myself...
like, you're talking about Vanessa. We have called her. She has listened. I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
I mean, do I ever have Siri turned off? I can't have
I don't
anyone...
even have it, and I still worry she's found a way. I don't know.
I can't have anyone listening to the names that I'm saying. Yeah, so...
And I will, in my own home, to my friends. Literally, friends will be like, Lane, you're whispering. And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like,
You never know.
away.
You gotta
I'm like,
whisper.
I gotta whisper. I don't know who's listening. Like, they give a shit. Like, they're tapping my home line so I can say they were kind of mean to me the other day. Like, who cares? But I'm so worried it's going to get back to them. I don't know.
And it's never happened.
It's
I don't know
never,
why.
well, that we know of. Oh,
Absolutely.
God.
Well, it's because you're so vigilant, obviously.
Because I'm so vigilant.
Yes.
I always say that like one of the things I miss most in the world is working retail and just having like regular random coworkers that you're thrown into hell with, and then getting to like get off work and go to a bar and complain with those people. Like that is so. I mean, I would like go. Sometimes I'm like, I should get my cashier job back. Like
sometimes I feel like that, but only for flirting. I'm just because you have a
that is fun.
It is
yeah,
fun.
That is fun.
I miss working like retail or like waitressing, anything like that, and you just have like a stream of hot strangers who are just coming up to you. No dating apps, none of that. Just like hot strangers, and you're like, oh my God, we have a vibe. All right, have a good day. I don't even care if I see you again, but this was fun for me. Like, you know what? I miss that. And I literally will think like, I should get a retail job again. Like it would.
I know, and I totally feel that. And then also in my professional life, I'm like, men never talk to a girl working at a store. How dare you?
That's the other thing.
Unless it's me.
That's the right. Unless you're hot to me specifically, and you better intuit that. And if you intuit it wrong, you dick. Yeah, it's rough.
No, this is like this is now over. God, it's like 20 years ago, but I'm still feeling myself over this one. I worked at a bookstore on Broadway here in Seattle called Bailey Coy Books. Shout out to anyone who worked at Bailey Coy Books and shopped there. And I 100%, there was this guy who used to come in like every Sunday morning. I was always hungover on Sunday mornings. And he, I suspected, was always hungover as well. And he was like my absolute bookstore crush. And it was like developed over like 6 months. We would like sometimes talk. And then, because this was also when I was like 20-something, I went to a Shins show at the Graceland here in Seattle. And, oh my God, turned the corner, we ran into each other, and he goes, oh, you're the girl from the bookstore? Yes! And we dated on and off. It was actually a torturous relationship, but it was like amazing. And we dated on and off for like, he's my favorite ex.
Oh my God.
We dated for like 6 years on and off.
I got goosebumps from that 20-year-old gossip. That was so
I know.
good.
I'm like,
Still,
what happens
he is
next? And it's like nothing, but still.
He's like, this is community. This is community care. I still have like hot dreams about him. He's like the one guy that and I'll text one of my college roommates who has been one of my best friends for 24 years, and I'll be like, I dreamed about Jesse again.
Is he like alive? Where is he? I feel like this has become like a reunion show.
He lives in Portland, and I hope no one here knows him, but yeah, but he like, it was amazing because actually when we dated, he was like,
I hope somebody here does know him and is able to
I cannot
reconnect
be
you.
in a long-term relationship. I can't like be in a relationship. If I could, I would be in one with you. And I was like, that is such bullshit.
Yeah,
but
it
like,
is.
actually, after doing this like for 4 years, I was like, no, I think he's actually telling the truth. And like every 5 years or so, I just send him like a little, it's usually after I have the dream, but I just send him an email just to be friendly because I actually really do care about him and think he's a wonderful person. Damaged in ways. But he just emailed me back like maybe it was last year, and he was like, I've actually been in a relationship with this woman for like 3 years, and I was like, that's so great.
And then he was like, but she's not you.
I was like, well,
And I think
wrote
about
that
it every
line
day.
in my head, and I was like, well, there's a reason why you're still emailing me, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna not email that for a while.
And then the
Anyway.
horniness grew. The horniness accelerated at that point.
Anyway, so that was our little detour into, but like that kind of, that relates to friendship, it does.
Well, I will tell you, I will tell you, related to that, I feel there is an entire chapter on how to be friends with exes because we don't talk about it. And I feel like there needs to be parameters. And look, there are some people who are like, I'm friends with all my exes. It's so easy for me. And I'm like, congratulations to you and you only. Like, I don't think they can get messy real fast. And
I feel like there has to be, for me, I'm always like, there has to be like
usually
a
not that with me,
6-month period of like little to no contact, because that's what breaking up is for.
Straight
like,
up,
that's what
straight
a breakup
up.
is.
I think there's like such a want to be like, and now we're gonna become friends immediately, and I'm like, no. I think in most situations that's just impossible.
Can I speak of our friendship and
Please.
subjects? No, I'm thinking about this because so Lindy and I have been friends like literally for like when we were emailing about this, I was like, how long have we been friends? It's been 17 or 18 years. And your friendship is one of the greatest gifts of my life. and has always been it's like one of the easiest relationships in my life. And I think it was also because it started off where it was like very low stakes. Like we had like lives, we were in our 20s. Was I in my 30s? I don't know, whatever it was. But we was like very casual, and it just like, it was like over years that I feel like one day I was like, on our like 447th lunch date, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I would do without this person like sitting across me. It was like built up over time though. But I'm remembering so Lindy is married to Aham, but I remember because they were friends first, and then they were like dating, and then it was sort of messy. And then I remember though over a Google chat, like sending you like, I was like, this is the outline of I think the conversation that you need to have with him, where I was like, these are things that you're trying to talk to me about, because it was like past relationship stuff where I was like, he needs to talk to a friend about that, like not to you who has like a romantic. But so this kind of gets into that, like to be friends with an ex is like a complicated thing where like I don't want to be around for the romantic talk. I mean, 20 years later, I was like, oh great, I'm so happy you're in a relationship now. Really? But it's like blurring that lines, right? Like, I don't know, there's something there. I feel like it was okay that I brought that up.
No, I mean, I'm sure Aham doesn't know that, but Angela absolutely, like, every hard conversation we ever had was bullet pointed by Angela. And now we're very successfully married, so that's thanks to you.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think I'm friends with any ex, which not out of like anger. I know that's in your book as well, talking about being friends with exes. Yeah. Do we need to? How do we feel about it?
Some people like it.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's nice.
Well, I mean, I think it's funny.
You just said you're not friends with any
I know,
ex.
but I never dated anyone good.
Well, no, so okay. So
As you know.
But that is the thing, and I think that is part of why it blows my mind. People are like, I'm friends with all my exes. I'm like, congratulations on choosing well. Like, shut up. I know, but it's fine. But a lot of the time, the people I broke up with wasn't because like we really loved each other, and then it just wasn't the time. Like, who has a clean breakup that's that clean, right? Like, a lot of my exes, I was just like, well, you were a gigantic piece of shit to me, and it borderlined on abuse. We no longer speak. I don't want to keep you around. Like, why would I, you know? So, but the exes that I am friends with are more like, you know, we hooked up once and then it wasn't that good. Or you know, they had stronger feelings for me than I did them. Or like, we almost dated, but then like, it's fine and the moment's passed and, you know, things like that. So like, I have people who like we've crossed into that gray area territory with, but I think that when it's gotten really sticky, unless it ended really, really well, I think it's hard.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, you've decided you don't have the capacity to be in each other's life in the way that you like want to be. So it would make sense to like, again, Virgo. I like to, you know, cut things cleanly and like move forward, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think sometimes the break too can make you realize, like, I've had some breakups where I was like, oh, we're totally soulmates and this sucks and I don't know why we can't make it work. And then like that time away, I was like, he sucked. Like, I know why you couldn't make it work. He sucked. Like, he was not good for you, you know? So Sometimes you need that space away. I know that's happened to me with friendships with anybody. Sometimes the way that my brain just works, like sometimes I need space outside of that to be able to be like, do you like this person? Do you miss this person? Or were you just in a really toxic cycle? Like one of the things I talk about in the book is how often my friendships were actually just trauma bonds. That happens so often where you're like, this wasn't a friendship. It was just recreating something traumatic. Nice, thank you. Recreating some traumatic dynamic. Like as much as we talk about our romantic relationships, often replaying a dynamic we had from our childhoods with our family, what I have noticed is that so have my friendships, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm friends with my dad. This is why this is son of a bitch. And I'd never heard that talked about. It's only with our romantic partners that we do this. And so I specifically wanted to talk about how much I have realized, God, this is my sibling. This is my mother. I am replaying these exact same dynamics because your brain's trying to heal it and it's a whole thing. But God, it's so important. And then when people, I get really mad whenever I see like, I don't know, some stupid tweet online or something, and people are like, making friends is really easy. You just like hang out. I'm like, fuck off. Like I just want to scream because it's not that easy for everybody. Everybody has their own sticky stuff, you know? And I think that even if you're really lucky, you're still gonna struggle with it. So, you know, and that's what so much of it is like dealing with your side of the street, you know, and like, what am I bringing to the table that's like making this hard? And then like, what can I communicate to them? And, you know, where can I go from there?
I want to say that we have about 10 minutes left. So if people have questions, there's a mic right here, and you're welcome to come line up. And we also have a couple questions submitted online, or you can submit questions online if you're shy.
Yeah, but we also encourage IRL questions.
Yeah, because we believe in community. So we would love to look you in your beautiful face while you ask us your question, if you want. Now, I'm not sure if...
Oh, is it going to load it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, here we are. Yes.
Hi.
All right, folks, we're lining up.
Well,
Yes,
let's
yes.
do this.
All right.
All right, is it on? It's on. I love that lights has clearly settled in.
Yep.
I don't know if this actually exists or not, but sometimes when I watch shows, especially set in like the 50s, 60s, you see women just like hanging out at home together while one of them is like doing laundry or ironing or whatever other shit we were forced to do. And I kind of love this idea of like the chill at home hang, like just throw on your sweat, or like keep your sweatpants on, or put them on if you're in your underwear, happens. Come over, we'll do nothing together. And I kind of wonder if that's like, is that real? Do people do that? Because it feels like everybody in my life is fucking terrified of doing that. Sorry for swearing. I don't know if that's allowed
Welcome
here.
to my house. Play that music so loud. That is like, you would be welcome at my house anytime. I am a big fan of, like, I do, like, it's not a dinner party. It's like, come over, I'm in sweatpants. We pull stuff out of the fridge. I fold laundry in front of my closest friends who are there to, like, cry about something. Yeah, that's totally, I think we should have more of that because it's lower stakes, like, and that's really where you can be more vulnerable and honest, right? Like, there's really no hiding when you're like stepping on a Lego, right? And doing that kind of stuff. So I advocate for that. I think there's more of it. And there's also like because this is me, I'm gonna make this point. So in her book, Women, Race, and Class, Angela Davis talks about how housework should be more communal, right? Because a lot of this stuff really is like, you know, cooking, cleaning, folding, stuff like that, like being together. It's by meal preparation is by nature social. And we are by nature human beings social, and we need help, and we want help, and we want to give help. And so I think that sort of really casual, in your sweatpants, home hangs, like we should do more of that. And people are afraid of it, but I think once they get to the other side, they see.
You can even, I find so often with stuff like that, naming it, just saying like to the other person like, hey, would you want to just come over while I like do my laundry? And there's just no pressure to do anything. shifts so much, because I think so often people just need permission that that's okay to do. I think a lot of us want it, and I've had so many moments with my friends where I've just been like, hey, can we just like, I'm just gonna text for a while, I'm just gonna like zone out and do this, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go get something out of my car, and I'm like, amazing. Yeah. Like I think there's something really wonderful about letting each other off the hook and know that like no one's gonna be mad at the other is like, that's it.
Hi. I'm wondering if any of you have ever broken up with or ghosted a friend, done your own growing, and been curious about revisiting that friendship later when you're in a different place. And perhaps it was more of where you were that caused the friendship to fizzle than where the relationship was.
I've gone. One of my longest friendships was very much that, where it was like we had some really rough times, and I'm gonna be careful when I talk about it because I don't really like it when like people in romantic relationships are like, it was really bad with us, like really bad, like we're really scary, but now we're so happy, and I'm like, ooh, because I know for me, I've been in really scary bad relationships, and I was like, I'm gonna keep staying in this because maybe it gets better. Like, don't. But sometimes you really aren't right for each other then, and you really can't, like, with this particular friend, like, I don't know, she struggled with a lot of stuff and we weren't compatible at that time, and did she hurt me? Yeah, and she knew that, and I think for me, we kept kind of coming back together, and sometimes it was still not the right time, and sometimes it was like, this is still kind of toxic, and I don't advocate still trying, but I do think you can leave a door open, and like I think especially if it's somebody who like hurt you or is pulling away, if they're the one, like don't chase them. I wouldn't recommend that. But if they come back and they genuinely own up to their shit and seem like they're actually different, sometimes they actually are. So I think, I don't know, life is sticky, and sometimes, you know, you have to kind of look and see, like, did this person hurt me because they're a bad person and they wanted to hurt me and that's why it didn't work, or did they hurt me because they were going through some stuff and they didn't want to? So I think it's hard to say for sure, but that's the way I look at it.
We have an online question that I'm going to read that I believe is for Angela. This says, are we talking about the white ways of friendship? How do friendships develop and continue and even end in your brown families/circles?
Well, as the brown representative here on the stage.
Sorry, I framed it like that.
No, it's good. I'm really glad. I want to thank whoever asked this question, because it was something that I was thinking about, how, you know, I often think about, like, how much of my brown self do I show up on stage? And that's like a thing that many people of color know. Like, I feel like I'm showing up as my full self, but I'm also like, you know, there could be more. And so one of the things that I think is really interesting is you were talking about one of the most profound things that is staying with me from what you're saying is a lot of this is like how you show up in friendships is a lot about how you have shown up for yourself and chosen to heal yourself and chosen to like recognize and celebrate and integrate all parts of you. And I do want to say that, like, for a lot of people of color, like I very reluctantly trust white women. It's true, right? Like, and that's real. And so there are people for whom, like, who have trauma in their lives or who have different experiences. It does inhibit your ability to connect with people, and that's very real. And so I want to say that, and I also think that, like, you know, as the brown person talking to, you know, mostly white room, that, yeah, like, if there are people if you think that, like, you're perceiving that there's, like, someone in your life who's holding back, like, yeah, they very well might be, right? And you can ask yourself, like, what are you doing or not doing, or what are you seeing or not seeing about yourself that might be playing a role in that? And you should ask yourself that. You should not be asking them that. Yeah. So, and I think, but there's also, like, there's something to be said too about trauma bonding too, like with people of color. Like, there can be friendships where you realize, like, are we just bitching about, like, and are we just sharing pain, which is sometimes that's a very useful thing, or maybe it's a more useful thing in youth, right? But as you get older, you want to, like, move past that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's, in general, I will also say, it seems so strange to be like, as the person of color, let's take, but it is important to talk about it and name it. And I think also that communities of color have, the way of survival in the United States is like, we have made kin and we have made family and we have made friendships in creative ways because we have had to. And you know, like a village of caring for people, like aunties and uncles and that sort of thing. Like, yeah, like I don't want to say we're better at it.
No, but can
We're better practiced at it, yeah.
Because, well, the only thing that I want to add, because I want you to continue, but I think that that is why it is so flawed, the white view of friendship, that we don't really need it, that is just transient, that doesn't fucking matter, that community is nothing. We are worse at it. We are absolutely worse at it, and we are worse for being worse at it. That's all I wanted to add, is just validate that, but continue.
Thank you. Yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
We're bad at it. We're
I
really
agree.
bad at it, and it's a deep flaw. So, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I also feel like I enter rooms and I don't know how many of you have ever had to do this. I do this automatically every space I go. I walk in and I'm like, how many of us are there? And when things go weird, like who do I make eye contact with? Like, you know, like there's like people over there. I'm like, they seem like if something goes weird, I'm gonna like look at that guy. It's gonna be cool, right? But it also creates it is a way that people connect, and there's like a community that's sort of like understood sometimes when you go into rooms, and I maybe never have to use it, but like I'm always thinking about making those connections and seeking them out. Yeah. Okay, I'm done on that subject now.
Next person.
Hi. So one thing that I've experienced coming out of the pandemic is that I've realized that I don't know if I should say need or want, but I at the very least want more alone time than I thought. And that has caused, coming out of the pandemic, me to sometimes say no to plans or choose being alone or being by myself more often. And I think sometimes that can be conflated with a rejection or, you know, not wanting to spend more time with your friends. Have any of you experienced that? And how do you recommend kind of balancing recalibration of how much time you spend with your friends versus by yourself without that feeling like a rejection to your friends?
I think again, I need a fair amount of alone time as well. I think it's a communication thing. If you're able to communicate that and they know that you are like that, and you can even say, like, when I say, no, I don't want to do anything, like, this is just kind of where I'm at right now. I have friends who, like, I don't have the space to hang out with them for months and months and months. I think as long as you communicate that and the other person is able to really hear that, that's such a powerful thing, because it lets you off the hook and it lets them know you're not mad at them and you're not rejecting that. And maybe you still want to be invited to things even if you don't want to go, which is very much me. So it's just telling them that. Please still invite me. I will continue to not come. What a great friendship, I think.
All right, I think we should go to 9:40 and then we should all go to sleep. So we got 6 minutes. Should we do speed round? Or you can all ask your questions, but we have to do 10 words or less? All right, speed round.
We'll take all of the questions of people who are
Okay,
here.
so first I have to say that Lights is looking adorable. Hiya. But secondly, I wanted to bring up the idea, especially during the pandemic, of internet friendships. Because, like, I feel like a lot of us, me, has made a bunch of people friends with people that we may never meet in person. And what are your thoughts on that?
There is I wrote an entire thing about that in the book, because we treat internet friendships as though they're like...
They say like it's not in real life. I was going to say IRL, but they act like it's not in real life, but it's like they're real friends.
Well, and it's also like there are some people there were many points in my life where, like, I didn't have access to anybody who was like me or who I could connect to. Like, that's true of so many people, particularly like queer people. Like, you might have one other queer person in your town and then you can't meet anybody. So I think, again, there's just kind of like breaking apart this idea that we have of what friendship means and what counts, I think is really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go.
Thanks.
So I'm earning zone minutes right now because I'm so nervous, so my heart rate is really high.
Congratulations,
I'm not
I guess.
working out, but my watch thinks I am. So during the pandemic, there was a lot of trauma for pretty much everybody, and it changed a lot of friendships. And one of my oldest friends, our friendship kind of fell apart during the pandemic. And I think, in addition to the pandemic, there was all this other stuff that could also be, like there were family traumas, there were things, and then she had a traumatic childhood, I had a traumatic childhood, and so we both have that history, and a lot of that was also coming up during the pandemic, and just a lot of toxic messages. And it saddens me because, of course, we want friends who brighten our days and make us happy, but the reality is that's not how life is, and we do have trauma. And could you just talk a bit about the importance of also finding people who you can share your trauma with in a safe space, who aren't just your therapist, because I've had some shitty therapists. And so, I need therapy right now, don't have a good one, and my last one was so traumatizing that I had to call a trauma line over it. And the lady told me, don't ever see this person again. So it's how do you deal with working through your shit while also having people in your life who accept you for not always making them happy?
Can I tell you there is an entire chapter that I wrote literally for you? And it's called If You Need Anything, Call Me, and it's based on how much I hate that phrase. Yeah. I wanted to write an entire chapter that was about people who are going through mental health challenges and how we will often not reach out. We will often not tell people. We don't want to burden people with our trauma because we are told to go see a therapist. Shut up, go see a therapist, as though everyone has access, as though everyone can afford it, as though there aren't a lot of really, really bad therapists. Same. And I really wanted to talk about that because I felt that feeling so much where I'm just I have retreated into myself because I've been I can't be the funny friend right now. But that is so the opposite of what friendship should be, because in an ideal situation, these people should be the people who are rallying and who are propping you up when this is this. No one should be afraid of this. And one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about, I was a little bit scared to put this in because it felt very vulnerable to write because I have very similar situations, similar experiences. At the same time, I just know we cannot continue to make islands of ourselves and say that we can never speak of these things in our friendships, who should be the very people who want to help us through them. So I think that's absolutely what friendship should be, if that is of any consolation.
It is, and I just feel like terms like trauma bonding get thrown around, and then people act like, oh, you can't. We can't talk about your trauma.
No, because they think
that's part of the fabric of who we are.
Because they think it's trauma dumping, and I very clearly clearly in the book, I'm just it is not trauma dumping if somebody is just speaking about what is going on with them, and if they've asked you and said hey, can I talk about something really hard? Do you have space for it? Yeah. That is just a genuine human connection and a person who should care about you, and if they genuinely care about you, they care about the hard parts as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And also, Lindy, this might sound weird, but I had a dream recently, I think because I'm coming to the show, and you were in it, and you were fantastic and a really kind person in the dream. So anyway, thank you for being nice to me in my dream.
I fully take credit for that. That was the real me. Okay, we have one more. Just right on time.
So I've been in transplant for the majority of my life, and I finally feel like I've found my people. It's been probably 8 years since I've been here. Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm being called to move to help out some family members, one of which is going through some serious health issues, which is all the way on the East Coast. And I feel kind of selfish because I want to tell them that I'd rather stay here and be with the people that have been there for me for the past 8 years. But so wondering what advice you might have. Sorry, I know it's a heavy one.
You are moving?
Undecided.
Oh, sorry.
You're hopefully not.
I was just going to say that you're totally, it's completely valid and totally real, and you should fully feel the feeling of you don't want to leave. Because these are the people that value you, and these are your people, yeah. Both things can be true, right? I think in some ways obligation can be good, even though it can be hard, right? I don't know what exactly your decision is, but I think you should, yeah, I mean, you can have those feelings. Whether or not you need to fully express all of them, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that relationship is like, but I'm just mostly here to validate your feelings. That's the number one thing I want to do. And like, that is the most important thing, and feeling those fully, I feel will get you to whatever the right decision is for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's the fear of starting over and having to find those people again and re-explain all the things that you do when you connect with people. Like, this is why I do this. This is what happened.
It's like
in my
a new
past.
therapist. It's like finding a new therapist. Or like, anyway, when I was 5, do we have to do this? Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, we have to go through these motions again. I've done this so many times.
Yeah, no, it's fair that no one likes it. But I don't know, if you can look at it as maybe there's an opportunity, like you can still call those people, you can still text them, and who knows, like maybe there's somebody you meet, even in passing. Like sometimes some of the things that have sustained me in situations like that where I just feel like this is not where I want to be, what I want to do, maybe there's a lady who works at the library who's really cool. Do you know what I mean? Like the ability to meet people and like 5 minutes in be like, oh, this is really nice, and like I know I can go there and I'm gonna pass by this lady who lives in my neighborhood or like walks her dog by me or something. Like sometimes it can just, if that's enough that like gets you through, and then you can go tell your friends, and remembering that it's temporary too, that you will be back here and you will see those people again, and it's just trying to make the most of those hard moments. And even if there's those little moments of community, I feel like really
like there's more, there are people out there who want to love you too. Like,
Yeah.
maybe in different ways, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
there's
you'll
more
never
good
know.
people. Like it's not only here that like people will only love you here or will only be cool here.
Oh, thank you all. You've been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like that's a really nice place to end, that there are more people out there who want to love you. Is that what you said? You said something really nice, and then I immediately forgot it. But thank you all so much for coming. Please buy the book. Go get some sleep, because it's like a 9:45. What are we doing here?
I know. Thank you for everyone who's staying up past your bedtime.
I won't ghost any of you, I promise.